courage to get this done on the Democrat side. 8 Senate Democrat caucus members voted with Republicans to break the filibuster, a massive leap toward reopening the government, but it's just the first step. And those Senate Dems have sparked a fire of rage, igniting a civil war among members of their own Democratic Party. So they are taking some heat now for the decision they made to put the country and suffering Americans ahead of their own politics. This is Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner, here with my co-host, Kayleigh McEnany. Also joining us today, Kennedy, host of the Kennedy Saves the World podcast. Cheryl Casoni, Fox Business anchor and host of American Dream Home on Fox Business. And David Asman, rounding out the contention of Fox Business with us today. And we are really, really grateful to have him. All right, well, the U.S. Senate voted 60-40 to pass the GOP's revised spending package overnight. And again, it's the first step in a series of procedural events, which could take days. We pray that it won't. The 8 members of the Democrat caucus who voted with Republicans are either retiring, so they basically had nothing to lose, or not facing re-election in 2026. Sunday night's Senate vote is only further exposing divisions among the Dems.
We are going to fight legislatively, fight back home, fight in the courts, and bring this fight in the elections.
I think there's going to be a lot of very angry people out there in this country. I know there will be a lot of angry people out there in this country. Having watched just a handful of Democrats join with Republicans, there's no way to defend this.
What this Senate is about to do is make a horrific situation even worse.
Okay, you know why he's so angry, Chris Murphy, right? Because he didn't get what he wanted in this whole, I don't know, extortion move. Well, it doesn't stop there. Democrat politicians are voicing their concerns over X, calling last night's vote a mistake, something they will not support, even going as far as calling Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer no longer effective, and saying that he should be replaced. Airlines, which have been dealing with the brunt of the fallout outside of the 42 million people who need food aid, that is. The airlines are praising the vote, but there's still a mountain to climb. Flights canceled, federal workers not getting paid, SNAP recipients still not getting their food assistance benefits. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says the issues from the shutdown are not going away immediately.
It's only going to get worse. I look to, the 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, you're going to see air travel be reduced to a trickle.
The President Trump, on his Truth Social today, posted, all air traffic controllers must get back to work now, 3 exclamation points. Anyone who doesn't will be substantially docked. For those air traffic controllers who were great patriots and did not take any time off for the Democrat shutdown hoax, I will be recommending a bonus of $10,000 per person for distinguished service to our country. David Asman, you are nodding. Your thought on that?
Well, it's very interesting, first of all, that it's now revealed, and most of us realized it was the Schumer shutdown. I mean, it was a Democratic shutdown. Even though the media, about 85% of the media was saying no, it was a Republican shutdown, now it's pretty clear to everybody that the Democrats had control over whether the government opened or not. And the 8 defectors are the ones that are proving that point. First thing that was happening was the human crisis just becoming too hard.
It still is.
It's not over, but not only on the workers and the service people and everybody who is not getting paid, who should be getting paid for the work they're doing. And I would put number 1 there, the air traffic controllers, at least in terms of public safety. But the inconvenience was also a problem for Democrats. But there was also some threats from the president. The president, I think, kind of played this very well. He realized that there were certain things they were vulnerable on. First of all, the filibuster, suggesting, we know that the next time Democrats have a trifecta, they have the House, the Senate, and the White House, they're probably going to try to pull the filibuster themselves to get a couple of new states in, to get more electoral votes, et cetera. His threat to end the filibuster, I think, scared the heck out of a lot of Democrats. But also his focus on Obamacare and the incredible unaffordability of the Affordable Care Act is becoming very clear. That was the main sticking points of Democrats. They wanted at least $1 trillion, if not more, primarily to bail out a system that we were told was going to lower prices. Instead, Prices have increased 96%.
They wanted that money without reforming it. They just wanted more money into it because they don't want to change it. You know what was so ironic about that, though, at the time last week?
Tell me, Alanis.
Well, I'll make it quick. So Obama was speaking because he was trying to help out candidates in mayoral and gubernatorial races on the East Coast. So you had him talking, and then you had Democrats holding out in the longest in our history government shutdown over Obamacare and how broken it is and how nobody can pay for it.
So what would have happened if Obamacare wasn't jacked up and oversubsidized during the pandemic? Would rates have skyrocketed later this year? Yes, they would have, absolutely. So that just goes to show you the program was overwrought, and that the rate hike and the pain that people are going to feel who thought that they could rely on this new government subsidy, they are now completely left in the cold by something. This was a can that was kicked. You know, Obama didn't care because he knew he wasn't going to be in office any longer. So when the pain really hit, it's like having an adjustable rate mortgage. And then all of a sudden it goes fixed rate when rates are high and you can no longer afford it. And that's the pain that people are feeling right now. But what the Democrats are proposing is just more government. So every time we have more government in one of these horrific hybrid programs, somehow it gets more and more costly. And the only fix when you have too much government for them is more government. Hakeem Jeffries is running around saying, you know, we have an affordability crisis. People can't afford everything. Well, maybe their taxes are too damn high because they're paying for broken programs.
Like the rent in New York, remember him?
Exactly right.
All right. A column in the New York Times is arguing that before the Senate Dems decided to cave last night, quote, Dems are on a roll, so why stop now? The piece explains, though, Democrats were winning this one. Polls showed that most voters blamed Republicans, not Democrats, for the current shutdown. And last week's Democrats wrecked Republicans in the elections, and Trump blamed his party's losses in part on the shutdown. Democrats were riding higher than they have been in months. It's worth noting the headline, Democrats are on a roll, why stop now, was changed. It now reads, what were Democrats thinking? Cheryl!
Because they made the wrong bet. They put all of their eggs into the basket of Obamacare and ACA, and it has completely failed and powered back up against them. $138 billion is what we spent on those ACA subsidies alone in fiscal 2025. By the way, President Trump has been coming up with ideas. Anybody look at True Social over the weekend? He said, let's take that money, give it back to the American people, put it in their pockets.
Great idea.
And you know what? It actually fixes the biggest thing that people like David and I were yelling about when they were trying to pass Obamacare in 2009, 2010 on Fox Business. We said there's two things that are missing from this: tort reform, and there's no competition in the health insurance market. Those two things, I believe, is what made Obamacare fail. We knew it then. It has come to fruition now. It is a failure, and the Democrats are so misguided.
And what was so interesting were all those Dems who were pushing for single payer and getting everybody. Can you imagine if everybody were on this program? What would we do? Well, you couldn't keep your doctor.
Well, and President Obama promised that. That's probably why he has been silent. But the other thing is the real pain to the American public. You mentioned the flight delays, the cancellations. Now, the three biggest headlines are SNAP, the flights, and air traffic controllers, and no paychecks to federal workers, not ACA. They've messed up, I think. And I think they're realizing that today.
Well, they signed something that didn't have ACA in it.
Yeah. You know, a reporter asked Tim Kaine, do you wish you would have found an off-ramp sooner? Tim Kaine was one of the 8 senators who all of a sudden had, you know, an epiphany, let's open the government. Well, Tim Kaine responded to the reporter, I was so focused on the Virginia elections, I wasn't in this discussion on the health care to how dug in they were. So he just admits, I was so focused.
So nobody in his state is on food assistance? Nobody was separated?
He's got 200,000 voters workers who aren't getting paid across the country. And tomorrow, TSA workers are not getting their second paycheck. Wow. Tomorrow, air traffic controllers are not getting their second paycheck. And I want you to listen. This is what Tricia McLaughlin told me is the real cost of what is happening. Listen.
With each passing day, American travelers are really going to be facing increased delays and increased implications that happen because our TSA workers are going without pay. As you mentioned, we have talked to many officers who they're sleeping in their cars. They have just tens of dollars left in their bank account.
Did you hear what she said? There are TSA workers sleeping in your cars, okay?
And that's great that, you get the paycheck. I'm so glad that Trump is doing that, the bonus for those who came. But the reality is some people couldn't afford to come. Some people couldn't afford to sleep in their cars. Some people couldn't afford to miss a paycheck. So how do we make sure this never happens again? Number one, Senator Kennedy put up legislation about withdrawing pay from members of Congress. I know there are constitutional requirements, but he has a workaround. He says let's put the money in an escrow account and pay them in the aftermath. That needs to be done so this never happens again. Congress shouldn't get paid if TSA workers are not. And number two, you mentioned the filibuster. Dems are going to do away with it entirely. I think it should be eliminated for spending bills.
Can I just
Those are the two ways this will never happen again.
Hold on one second, David, because I want to, because you're the only one who's worked in the White House on the couch. So I want to ask you this question. Shutdowns. Okay, there was a bill that was put forth. Langford was talking about this. Senator Langford, can we just narrow it to when it's a spending bill that we don't need a 60% majority so this never happens? Because the president he learned some lessons about shutdowns when he wanted one over the wall.
Exactly. The second longest shutdown happened very shortly ago, President Trump's first term. The longest one, President Trump's second term. It's because Democrats have a Trump derangement syndrome problem. And in order to ensure this doesn't happen again, and I don't know, a future J.D. Vance presidency or whatever, you need to end the filibuster for spending bills. TSA workers shouldn't be sleeping in their cars. I'm sorry, it's worth nuking the filibuster so people don't sleep in their cars.
November 24th, voters, that was one of their top issues, illegal immigration. So apparently walls work. Yeah. So that shutdown also didn't give Dems what they wanted.
I was just going to say the healthcare industry through all this loves the Affordable Care Act. They're making out like bandits the amount of money, the increase in the share value of healthcare companies has gone up much greater than the S&P. And a lot of that money, guess where it goes? To a lot of Democrats. The healthcare industry, look at who's receiving some of that money. Liz Warren, Bernie Sanders, etc. So
big government.
Follow the money. That's all I'm saying.
That was we always do.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every...
Okay, any questions?
Senators that are here, Mr. President, do you personally approve of the deal that's happening right now on Capitol Hill to end the...
Well, it depends what deal we're talking about, but if it's a deal I heard about, that's certainly, they want to change the deal a little bit, but I would say so. I think based on everything I'm hearing, they haven't changed anything, and we have support from enough Democrats, and we're going to be opening up our country. It's too bad it was closed, but we'll be opening up our country very quickly.
Mr. President, that deal does reverse the mass firings your administration put through during the shutdown. Did you sign off on that, and will you abide by that if it passes?
Well, I will be. I'll abide by the deal. The deal is very good. We're not going to be giving $1.5 trillion to people that came in from jails and from, the gangs and drug dealers and all of these others that they wanted to be given health care, which would have hurt our health care system. I hope that we're going to be able to have a health care where Lindsay and I were discussing it, Jim and I were discussing it, and Katie, we discussed it. We want a health care system where we pay the money to the people instead of the insurance companies. And I tell you, we're going to be working on that very hard over the next short period of time, where the people get the money. We're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars where the people get the money. Yes, please. Say it? The leader of Syria said earlier, did you come to any agreement? Well, I've had an agreement with him. He's a very strong leader. He comes from a very tough place. He's a tough guy. I like him. I get along with him. The new president of Syria. And we'll do everything we can to make Syria successful because that's part of the Middle East. We have peace now in the Middle East, first time that anyone can remember that ever happening. As you know, Syria is a very big part of the Middle East, very important part. If you look back at Syria for years, they had the doctors, the lawyers, they had so many of the great intellects. It's an amazing place with great people, and we want to see Syria be successful along with the rest of the Middle East. So I have confidence that he'll be able to do the job, absolutely.
How close are you to deal on trade deal with India?
Right.
Are you willing to consider lowering air freight?
Well, right now the tariffs are very high on India because of the Russian oil, and they've stopped doing the Russian oil. It's been reduced very substantially. Yeah, we're going to be bringing the tariffs down. I mean, at some point we're going to be bringing them down. Without tariffs, this country would be in such trouble, as they were for many years. That's why we owe $38 trillion. And one of the things we're going to do, we're going to issue a dividend to our middle income people and lower income people of about $2,000. And we're going to use the remaining tariffs to lower our debt. We're going to be lowering our debt, which is a national security thing. So we're doing a lot of good work. The numbers were reported so incorrectly. The real numbers are trillions of dollars have been taken in or gotten in terms of investment from the tariffs. And so if that were ever reversed, it would be a disaster. Frankly, it would be a national security problem for our country. And nobody thinks it's going to be reversed. I think we had a very good court case. As you know, it's before the Supreme Court right now. But if that were ever reversed, people are saying, oh, it's $1 billion. Some people said, oh, it's $2 billion. Well, that obviously we can handle very easily. But this is trillions of dollars we're talking about in terms of the tariff income and all the investment income that's come into our country. We have more than, I would say right now, more than $18 trillion. The biggest number ever is a tiny fraction of that for any country. China, the United States, the biggest number ever. If you look at the past administration, Biden, he did less than $1 trillion in 4 years. We're over 18 trillion. By the time my first year ends, we're going to have over $20 trillion of investment coming into the United States. It's unheard of. We have AI factories. We're leading China by a lot. We have cars and car plants coming in by more than we've ever had built before. All of that would go away if we lose the tariff case. So all of it would go away. So they're not giving the right numbers. It would be an economic disaster. It would be a national security disaster if we lost the case in the Supreme Court. Daniel? Yes.
Radically positively impact millions of Americans. Why is this important for you to do in going to Americans?
So I've been talking about it for a long time, the dividend to people that, have suffered under the Biden administration. So Biden had the highest inflation in history, and we now are at a very low point. We're going to be hitting 1.5% pretty soon. So we're at a low point, and he was a high point. We did that. Food prices are way down. It's all coming down. And the biggest decrease, of course, is energy. And, as goes energy, goes everything else. Because when energy comes down, the oil, the electric, I think you're going to see $2 gasoline or something very close to that. In fact, we're already in the twos. But I think you're going to be seeing very soon $2 gasoline. That's like the equivalent of a massive tax cut. But in addition to that, the great big beautiful bill gives you a very, very big tax cut. And then you have no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and no tax on overtime for the middle income and for even, frankly, anybody. But you have no tax, and the no tax on tips has turned out to be a tremendous thing. But when you think no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our seniors, it's the great big beautiful bill, which has been mischaracterized, but now people they don't want to talk about it because it's so good, the enemy, because it's so good for everybody. It's the greatest piece of legislation ever passed in the history of our country in terms of size. And hence they call it the big beautiful bill, or the one big beautiful, I call it the great big beautiful bill. It's an amazing bill for the middle class. It's an amazing bill for jobs. We've never passed anything like it. And in my first administration, so we had the greatest economy. Everything was good, but we're really outdoing it this time because we have investments coming in largely because of tariffs. And I think because of November 5th, the election result. But we have investments coming in like we've never had before. Please, behind you, Caitlin, behind you. Thank you, Caitlin.
Can we expect an announcement on a pact between Syria and Israel, or an announcement on them joining the anti-ISIS?
Yeah, you can expect some announcements on Syria. We want to see Syria become a country that's very successful, and I think this leader can do it. I really do. I think this leader can do it. And people said he's had a rough past. We all have rough pasts. But he has had a rough past, and I think, frankly, if you didn't have a rough past, you wouldn't have a chance. He gets along very well with Turkey. With President Erdogan is a great leader. Erdogan's a great leader, and very much in favor of what's happening in Syria. We have to make Syria work. Syria is a big part of the Middle East, and I will tell you, I think it is working and really well. We're working also with Israel on, getting along with Syria, getting along with everybody. and that's working amazingly. As you know, Hamas has given us back numerous bodies. It sounds pretty gruesome, but it's something the parents want more than if their son had been living. Hard to believe. I've seen all of the parents, so many of the parents, and getting back the body of their son, their dead son, is as vital to them, as important to them, as if the boy was generally the boy was alive. And as you know, in the last 4 or 5 days, we've gotten a lot of the additional bodies that they said they were going to. They've worked very hard to do that. So we have peace in the Middle East. It's a great thing, and nobody's ever seen anything quite like it.
Last week about trade
with Switzerland?
Yeah.
We're working on a deal to get their tariffs a little bit lower because. No, I haven't said any number, but we're going to be working on something to help Switzerland along. We hit Switzerland very hard. We want Switzerland to remain successful, and we're a part of Switzerland in the sense that they've been a very good ally. Yeah, we're working on them and some others, and we're working on others to increase them a little bit too. Switzerland, what, you have something to do with Switzerland? He wants to buy a nice one. He wants to buy a nice Rolex, right? We'll give Rolex some publicity. His Rolex has been very nice, Now, look, it's a beautiful country. It's a small country, but economically very big. So we're working on something. Caitlin?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a big ally of yours, said that she would rather see you focus on non-stop domestic policy meetings in the White House instead of non-stop foreign policy meetings. What's your response to her saying that? And also, that you focus on your up and not down.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened to Marjorie. She's a nice woman, but I don't know what happened. She's lost her way, I think. But I have to view the presidency as a worldwide situation, not locally. I mean, we could have a world that's on fire where wars come to our shores very easily if you had a bad president. We had a horrible president, and we ended up with Russia, Ukraine, and we ended up with other disasters too. Don't forget, I put out 8 wars, 9 to come. I think I'll get the other one taken care of, but I put out 8 wars. And look at the damage that Russia, Ukraine has done to us as a country. I mean, we spent $350 billion. We're not spending any money anymore. Now they pay us through NATO. I got NATO to go from 2% to 5%. Well, that's very important. When you're president, you really sort of have to watch over the world because you're going to be dragged into it otherwise. You're going to be dragged into a world war. I think if I weren't president, first of all, that war would have never happened if I was president. And if I weren't president, that war could have led to World War III. It won't. It's not going to anymore. But when I first got in, I said, wow, this situation could lead to World War III. And I got NATO together. I got everybody together. But with all of that, I passed a great, big, beautiful bill, which is the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country. So when somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's now catering to the other side, I don't know what, I guess she's, got some kind of an act on, but I'm surprised at her. But when somebody like Marjorie goes over and starts making statements like that, it shows she doesn't know. I don't devote a lot of my time. Let me give you another example. China was going to hit us with rare earth. Now, everybody says, what does that mean? Magnets. If China refused to give magnets, because they have a monopoly on magnets, because they were allowed to happen over a 32-year period, there wouldn't be a car made in the entire world. There wouldn't be a radio. There wouldn't be a television. There wouldn't be internet. There wouldn't be anything because magnets are such a part. Now, nobody knows what magnets are. And not overly sophisticated, but to build a magnet system would take 2 years. So if I weren't able to say to China, look, if you're going to do that to us, we're going to charge you 158% tariff. It was 100% on top of 58%. And China called up immediately and said, we will make peace. And we made peace. We made a great deal. We made an unbelievable deal. And China's paying tariffs to the United States, not the United States paying tariffs to China, which has always been the way it was. Nobody can believe these deals. But so when somebody makes a statement about he's devoting time to the world, well, the world is the United States because if the world's in trouble or if the world is ripping us off, the world was ripping us off before I came here. Europe was getting massive tariffs. They were sending us 9-10 million cars a year. We were sending them none. They were not taking our agriculture. We were taking massive amounts of their. It was so unfair. Now we have a deal where $950 billion is coming into the United States because of me and because of tariffs. So if I don't do all these things, our country is doing very poorly. So, you know, it's easy to say, oh, don't worry about the world, but the world is turning out to be our biggest customer. The world was on fire, and we could have been in that fire very easily if you didn't have a president that knew what he was doing.
What about the guarantee to Americans that travel is going to go back to normal once the government...
The travel is? Oh, yeah. It'll go better than normal. You know why?
When the government reopens.
Yeah, sure. It'll be much better than normal because we're buying the most sophisticated avionics and, you know, technology for our control towers. And we didn't have that. We had a guy named Buttigieg. Edge, this is the best way. Just say two edges, like off the edge of a cliff, which is where they were taking us, by the way. Buttigieg was the Secretary of Transportation, and he spent billions of dollars trying to patch together our air traffic control system, which was a conglomeration of all different systems in all different cities. They had hundreds of companies working on it, and they were spending billions of dollars. And when they turned it on, it didn't work. It didn't even work a little bit. That's why you had a helicopter crashing into an airplane, that if we had a great system, bells and whistles would have started going off. So we are now in the process. We're in final bids of getting the finest system anywhere in the world. I've analyzed it. Sean Duffy has been working really hard on it, doing a fantastic job, by the way. And over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be handing out the finest air traffic control system anywhere in the world. All the towers will be equipped. They were going copper wire into glass wire into other types of wire. And if you knew anything, you know copper wire doesn't work with glass. You know glass doesn't work with other substances. And they spent billions of dollars, and when they turned it on, nothing happened. Okay? And we're getting the most sophisticated, all brand new. Every control tower will have the same exact system. It'll be the most sophisticated system by far in the world. And what we've done is we've looked around other countries, and we've taken the absolute best systems in every different form, because there are different. You have lots of different companies like IBM and Raytheon and a lot of great companies. They're all bidding, and we're going to pick the best ones, and it'll get built relatively quickly, and you're going to have the greatest air traffic control system anywhere in the world. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.
Let's begin with senior national correspondent Aisha Hasmi on Capitol Hill. Aisha.
Harris, good morning to you. A lot of Democrats are raging this morning because this deal does not include their crown jewel issue. The one thing that they have been fighting for the last 40 days, that is to extend the Obamacare subsidies. It's not in this package. So last night, instead, those eight centrists agreed with Republicans on this deal to hold a vote on the Obamacare subsidies later on in December. There's no guarantee that vote is going to pass. There's no guarantee the House would ever take it up. Here are some of those centrists explaining why they went for this.
I understand that not all of my Democratic colleagues are satisfied with this agreement, but waiting another week or another month wouldn't deliver a better outcome.
It was our judgment, after 6 weeks, going on 7 weeks of this shutdown, that path wasn't working.
So Democrats are furious. Some of them are calling for Chuck Schumer's head and saying that this was a huge mistake. Gavin Newsom writing on X, tonight's Senate vote on the federal government shutdown should have been a time for strength. Instead, we saw capitulation and a betrayal of working Americans. The American people need more from their leaders. Now, Speaker Mike Johnson has not officially recalled the House, but he did tell his House members to begin their journeys back to the Hill because he wants to get this done as quickly as possible. The Senate is trying to work on a time agreement right now to skip all the Senate steps to get to final passage. That could happen sometime in the next 2 days. Eric?
Aisha, that's really important because that would really speed up this timeline if there were steps to be kind of pushed to the side for this purpose. I'll get into that with my first guest. Great to see you. Thank you very much. Well, while Democrats fight against the plan to end the record-breaking shutdown, air travel is only getting worse for everybody right now in America. We are on the 4th day of the FAA cutting flights from 40 of the largest airports in the U.S. The number of flights that have been cut will go up another 2% tomorrow. So this is like a phase-in progressive thing until they get to a lot of them on the ground. And we're just hopeful that they can work through the process, as Aisha just talked about, to keep this from hitting Thanksgiving and that travel. Those flight disruptions look like they will only get worse, more severe during that busiest holiday travel period at this point. Today alone, more than 1,600 flights already have been canceled. More than 3,000 flights delayed already. It's not even noon yet on the East Coast. That comes after another brutal travel nightmare over the weekend. More than 4,500 flights canceled, a staggering 18,000 flights delayed. And not by a little bit either. Newark was cooking at about 893 minutes on Thursday and Friday at one point. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy.
It's only going to get worse. I look to, the 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, you're going to see air travel be reduced to a trickle. I used to have about 4 controllers retire a day before the shutdown. I'm now up to 15 to 20 a day are retiring. So it's going to be harder for me to come back after the shutdown. The only political play here is Chuck Schumer. The safety team looked at data, made a recommendation to me, and it's a hard decision, but that's what we've done to keep people safe.
It is hard decision time. The Democrats know all about that as they cave. Thank God for the country. National correspondent Brian Yennis is at Newark International Airport. So, Brian, I was just saying to our viewers that some of those wait times were more than 14 hours at one point. How's it looking now?
Well, it's looking like right now there are just 15-minute delays on the runway. There are about over 100 cancellations, about 100 delays. So far, not as bad as yesterday, but the cancellations and delays just continue to go up. Yesterday was the worst travel day at airports since this shutdown began. And frankly, it was largely because of air traffic controllers who were calling out and not showing up for work. The Transportation Secretary says that was due to economic necessity. President Trump, though, this morning has a message, though, for those air traffic controllers, saying he is not happy for those who are not showing up for work. President Trump writing, quote, "All air traffic controllers must get back to work now. Anyone who doesn't will be substantially docked. For those air traffic controllers who were great patriots and didn't take any time off for the Democrat shutdown hoax, I will be recommending a bonus of $10,000 per person for distinguished service to our country." On Saturday, just for an example, 18 of 22 air traffic controllers did not show up for work in Atlanta. Controller shortages compounded nationwide on Sunday, leading to more than 10,000 delays and nearly 3,000 cancellations. The FAA is also mandating those airlines to further reduce their flights by 6% tomorrow and by 10% this Friday. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says the decision to reduce the flight numbers is about safety, not politics. He's also sympathizing with many of these air traffic controllers who are missing work, he says, because they have to put food on the table, working other gigs. As for today, if you look at FlightAware's misery map, there are more than 2,700 delays and over 1,600 cancellations. The worst of it so far at both Chicago airports, Atlanta, LaGuardia, New York City, and right here in Newark, where we spoke to travelers.
Wasn't bad flying here last week, but, it's hitting us today.
I feel bad for the TSA guys. I just still don't understand how they're not getting paid. I mean, it's terrible.
Everybody, still needs a paycheck, but it just is what it is, regardless of what your politics are, we still need to think about others.
Even before this shutdown, Harris, the FAA says they were 3,500 air traffic controllers short of being fully staffed. You've got thousands of them who are working 10-hour days, 6 days a week, mandatory. It's a tough situation out there. Harris.
It's tough for everybody. Imagine trying to feed your kids and you need food assistance and you can't get it. Brian Yanis, thank you. Headlines highlighting Democrats' anger over advancing the bill to open the government because they just want people to continue to suffer so they can use their so-called leverage. Show me again the receipt on the leverage because I don't get that part. Anyway, Hakeem Jeffries' progressive Democrats rage against deal to end shutdown. Another, Dems go ballistic over Senate shutdown deal. And here's part of it. The deal threatens to open the deep divisions that have been roiling the Democrat Party all year, and the widespread opposition to it among House Democrats could complicate its path to passage. Oh, great. Another slowdown. Here are some furious lawmakers on the left, in their own words.
What this Senate is about to do is make a horrific situation even worse. Does anybody in the world think that makes sense?
I can't explain it because, to be frank, to me, it makes absolutely no sense. I'm completely perplexed by today's developments.
I've been working throughout the past few weeks to try to prevent this. There's no way to defend this. And you are right to be angry about it. I'm angry about it.
Republican Congressman Mike Lawler of New York, member of the Financial Services and Foreign Affairs Committee. Great to see you. My first question comes right out of Aisha's reporting. Apparently there's some steps on the table to shorten the process that it will take to get this back into the House, get it passed there, and then go to the president. Will we actually see those steps taken to speed this up?
Hopefully, Harris. I mean, this shutdown has dragged on for over 40 days. Democrats, in their meltdown over the last 12 hours, basically have admitted that they did this in order to try and fight back against Trump, and they used the American people as leverage. And unfortunately, they've created chaos at our airports, for those Americans that rely on SNAP and WIC, and for those federal employees that have not received a paycheck in over a month. It's outrageous, and they deserve every little bit of criticism they are getting because of what they've done to the American people. So I hope procedurally it moves quickly, and that when we're in D.C. On Wednesday, we get this done.
Look, I have to press this point, because we now are more than stuck. We're bleeding as a nation. Like, there are people who are suffering in ways that I know you go home to New York and you hear some of it. I've been traveling crisscrossing the country in the last few days, trying to get from this to that. And it's nearly impossible to do that. And at every choke point, there are people who are trying to stretch their snacks in airport waiting areas. They just don't have the money to do what they need to do. And some of them are now trying to travel to get to a part-time job. Maybe there's something over there. Maybe I could drive there. Like, we're beyond the point of I hope. Hope is not a strategy. Prayer is, and we're going to do that. But what does it take to get this situation to speed up? What are those steps like?
Well, the Senate, unfortunately, has their procedural hurdles, which, to your point, the American people don't care about that. They care about this bill getting passed, the government reopening, federal employees getting paid, SNAP and WIC being fully funded. And so it's imperative on the Senate to expeditiously move this. I think the House needs to bring the Rules Committee back immediately. As soon as passage of that bill is done in the Senate, the House Rules Committee needs to convene, needs to pass the rule, and we need to immediately vote for passage. So I am, it's easy from New York. It takes me 4 hours to drive to D.C., given some of the air traffic issues. But we need to be back in D.C. immediately. We need to pass this. We need to get the government open and running, and we need to do the people's business. There is a lot to deal with when we get back. It's not just the government funding. So we need to get down there as quickly as possible and get this bill passed.
And I know that House Speaker will make that decision. Any indication that could happen like tomorrow?
Yeah, I think obviously tomorrow is Veterans Day, and so I would suspect this bill is going to pass by Wednesday. That would be, what I think is realistic at this moment.
Congressman Lawler, thank you very much. Great information from you. Appreciate it always.
Thanks, Harris.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Compagno. Catch me and my co-host Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Out.